My boyfriend lived a double life using my name and money. So I exposed him, locked him out, and got him arrested without saying a word. I was staring down at a grease-stained DoorDash receipt for pad thai when the sickening realization washed over me that my boyfriend of 2 years had stolen my identity, bought a secret suburban house, and was hiding an entire wife. My fingers shook so violently that the thin thermal paper tore right down the middle, separating the order total from the delivery note. The sharp, metallic tang of adrenaline flooded the back of my throat, and the twisting, heavy knot in my chest told me this absolute nightmare was only just beginning. The smell of roasted peanuts, lime, and chili oil usually makes my mouth water, but tonight, standing in the lobby of our building, it just made my stomach violently heave. Liam had texted me 2 hours earlier with 3 rocket emojis and a champagne bottle. He had finally gotten the promotion. The senior VP slot at his logistics firm that he had been relentlessly grinding toward for the past 10 months. He told me to put on that black silk dress he loved, but right as I was doing my makeup, he got securely locked into a critical client escalation call in our guest room. To make up for the ruined dinner reservations, he ordered from our favorite premium Thai spot across town. When the lobby buzzer rang, I didn't bother interrupting his important call. I padded barefoot down the 3 flights of stairs from our sleek, exposed brick urban loft to meet the courier at the heavy glass door. The driver didn't look at me, didn't say a word. He just shoved the heavy plastic bag into my hands, turned on his heel, and sprinted back to his idling Honda Civic. Taped aggressively to the side of the brown paper bag was a long, white thermal-printed receipt. I didn't even mean to read it. I wasn't looking for clues. My eyes just naturally tracked the bold black ink as I carried the heavy food up the stairs to our floor. Name, Liam. Order, spicy basil chicken, pad CEW. 2 orders of crab rangoons. Delivery instructions, please leave on the back porch behind the black Weber grill. Do not ring the doorbell or knock. The golden retrievers will lose their minds and wake up my wife. Text when dropped. I stopped walking. My bare foot hovered an inch over the cold concrete of the 3rd floor landing. The thin plastic handles of the bag dug sharply into my palms, cutting off the circulation, but I couldn't feel the pain. I read the tiny black letters again, then a 3rd time. My developer brain aggressively rejected the incoming data, throwing up a massive cognitive firewall. We didn't have a back porch. We lived in a 3rd floor converted warehouse in the densest part of the city. We definitely did not have a black Weber grill. The luxury HOA had strictly banned open flames on the balconies after a fire 3 years ago. And dogs? Golden retrievers? The wife? I felt the heat rising in my neck, and my vision went totally blurry with rage as a specific, agonizing memory slammed into my skull like a runaway freight train. 6 months ago, I had sat on our velvet mid-century couch, scrolling idly through the local ASPCA shelter page, looking at a golden retriever mix with 1 floppy ear. I turned the iPad around, smiled, and asked Liam if we could finally get a dog. His reaction wasn't just a simple no, it was a terrifying, explosive meltdown that lasted for an hour. Are you actually insane? He had hissed, his face leaning inches from mine, his eyes wide, furious, and dark. I am deathly allergic to canine dander, Taylor. Do you want me in the ER? Because that's exactly what a shedding mutt will do to me. Plus, a crate and dog toys would absolutely ruin the loft's aesthetic. My God, you are so deeply selfish sometimes. I had cried myself to sleep that night. I had apologized to him over coffee the next morning. I genuinely felt like a monster for not remembering his supposed severe allergy, even though he had never once mentioned it before that exact moment. And now, standing alone in the drafty stairwell holding this receipt, the puzzle pieces weren't just neatly fitting together, they were forming a blade and cutting my hands to shreds. He had been so panicked about his fake client call that he had forgotten to toggle off his default delivery instructions. I walked into the apartment and quietly pushed the heavy metal door shut. The water pressure in the master bathroom was roaring. Liam was taking a steam shower, washing off the stress of his imaginary corporate crisis. I set the Thai food down on the cold quartz of the kitchen island. I didn't scream into a pillow. I didn't collapse onto the floor and cry. My digital architect brain took over, turning my emotions cold, clinical, and detached. I build complex mobile app ecosystems and secure databases for a living. I understand data architecture, hidden location permissions, and user tracking better than almost anyone. I walked completely silently to his leather messenger bag sitting by the coat rack and pulled out his personal iPhone. He always left it unlocked when he was at home because we were completely transparent with each other. I sat rigidly on the edge of the couch and opened Google Maps. I didn't bother checking his text messages or his hidden camera roll. Amateurs look for photos. Professionals look for metadata. I clicked on his circular profile picture in the top right corner and opened his timeline and location history. At first glance, it looked absolutely flawless. Monday through Friday, the neat blue lines tracked him perfectly from the loft, to his downtown corporate office, to the local 24-hour fitness, and back home. But I know exactly how commercial GPS arrays function. The data clustering around the gym was entirely too tight. It was a perfect, static pin drop. There was no satellite drift, no pacing around the weight room, no walking from the locker room to the treadmills. It was entirely artificial. I minimized the Maps application and opened his app drawer. I swiped down to the search bar and typed location. Nothing. Then I searched spoof. Bingo. Buried deep in a folder cleverly named System Utilities was a third-party, side-loaded developer tool specifically used for testing geo-fenced applications. For the last 18 months, my boyfriend had been deliberately broadcasting a fake GPS signal to his own iCloud account. Whenever he was supposedly crushing a brutal 2-hour shoulder workout, his phone was anchored to the gym virtually, while the actual device was somewhere else entirely. I opened his DoorDash app next. I bypassed the home screen, went straight to his Orders tab, and clicked Export Data. There it was, staring back at me in cruel, undeniable high definition. An address 30 miles away, buried deep in a suburban cul-de-sac. A place I had never seen. A life I had absolutely no part in. I stared at the suburban street name on the glowing screen. The shower abruptly shut off in the other room, the pipes groaning in the walls. "Babe, is the food here?" Liam yelled through the thick bathroom door, his voice echoing off the subway tiles, sounding impossibly light, relaxed, and cheerful. "Yeah, just setting it up on the plates," I called back. My voice didn't even tremble. It sounded hollow, metallic, like it belonged to a complete stranger. I shoved his iPhone perfectly back into his leather bag, grabbed 2 ceramic bowls, and started dishing out the steaming noodles. We sat across from each other at the kitchen island. He eagerly ate the spicy basil chicken, laughing about the perks of his new promotion, reaching across the counter to kiss my knuckles. I watched his jaw move. I watched his throat swallow. I vividly imagined reaching across the quartz and wrapping my hands tightly around his windpipe, but instead, I just smiled a dead, empty smile and ate my crab rangoons. I waited until exactly 2 a.m. Liam was dead asleep, his chest rising and falling rhythmically as he snored softly into his expensive memory foam pillow. I slipped out from under the heavy duvet, grabbed my MacBook Pro from the nightstand, and ghosted into my home office, shutting the door silently behind me. I needed to see this house. I pulled up the county property appraiser's website, bypassed the CAPTCHA, and punched in the exact suburban address I had pulled from the DoorDash metadata. The screen loaded instantly. A beautiful, sprawling 2-story modern farmhouse with a massive fenced-in backyard. Estimated market value, $850,000. I scrolled down the page to the official ownership records. I expected to see his name, or maybe this mystery wife's name. But that's when the real bombshell dropped. The property wasn't listed under Liam's name. It wasn't under the wife's name. It was officially registered to a holding company, T&L Holdings LLC. T&L, Taylor and Liam. My hands started to sweat so heavily my fingers slipped off the trackpad. I opened a new private browser tab, logged into the state's corporate division registry, and paid the $3 fee to pull the official formation documents for T&L Holdings. My eyes scanned the black and white PDF, and all the oxygen violently left my lungs. My name was listed as the sole primary managing member. My social security number was partially redacted but clearly, undeniably mine. And at the very bottom of the incorporation document was my signature. But it wasn't a forged pen stroke. It was a digital vector signature. I instantly recognized the unique pressure sensitivity curve on the capital T. It was ripped straight from my own Wacom content creation tablet. He had waited until I was out of the apartment, logged into my secure workstation, copied my vector signature file from Adobe Illustrator, and pasted it directly onto state incorporation documents. He hadn't just cheated on me. He had weaponized my identity. Bile rose in my throat. I furiously logged into my Experian credit dashboard. I usually only check it once a year because I meticulously pay my business cards off in full every single month. A blue spinning wheel mocked me for 5 agonizing seconds before the financial dashboard loaded. Current outstanding debt, $50,000. 2 massive, unsecured personal loans had been taken out in the last 8 months. Both dispersed directly to a routing number I didn't recognize. Both tied permanently to my name, my immaculate credit score, and my hard-earned business credentials. Liam wasn't just living a double life. He was actively, systematically destroying my financial future to fund his fake reality with his wife. He was literally using my app development revenue to pay for her golden retrievers, her pristine modern farmhouse, and her black Weber grill. I didn't sleep a single second that night. I sat in the dark, bathed in the blue glow of my monitors for 6 uninterrupted hours. I downloaded every single PDF. I took timestamped screenshots of every fraudulent transaction. I ran traceroutes on the IP addresses used to open the loans. I compiled a digital kill folder folder so dense and mathematically airtight it would make an IRS forensic accountant weep. By 7 a.m., the initial panic and tears had completely evaporated, crystallizing into something cold, sharp, and entirely merciless. Saturday morning sunlight bled heavily through the sheer living room curtains. Liam walked into the kitchen dressed in a crisp navy polo and expensive khakis. He poured himself a cup of pour-over coffee, casually checking his Apple Watch. "I've got to knock this major project out by noon, babe," he murmured smoothly, leaning over the counter to kiss the top of my head. "Then it's just you and me all weekend. I was thinking we could go look at that new underground wine bar downtown tonight." "That sounds absolutely perfect," I whispered, not looking up from my iPad screen, my voice dripping with sugary compliance. "Good luck on the project." "I love you." "Love you too," he called out. The exact second the heavy metal door of the loft clicked shut and the deadbolt engaged, I went to absolute war. I booted up my main workstation. I seamlessly logged into his DoorDash account via my browser, which, to my absolute blinding horror, I realized was directly linked to my corporate platinum card. He had been buying his wife elaborate dinners with my company's money. I pulled up a ridiculously high-end, Michelin-starred sushi restaurant located exactly halfway between my urban loft and his suburban fortress. I selected the massive premium omakase sushi platter, bluefin tuna belly, fresh Hokkaido uni, gold flake wagyu rolls. Total cost after tax and tip, $150. I left the suburban delivery address exactly as it was, but I went directly into the default delivery instructions and deleted the frantic warning about the dogs. I aggressively typed my own masterpiece into the text box. "Special request, when you drop the food on the back porch behind the grill, please hand deliver this printed document to the wife. It's a copy of the $50,000 in fraudulent loans Liam took out in my name. Also, tell her the apartment girlfriend says the golden retrievers are beautiful, but the husband is a glitch. I'm clearing the cache today." I hit submit, but a random gig economy delivery driver isn't a licensed courier for sensitive legal documents. I knew that. So, I opened a second tab and paid a massive premium rush fee to a local, bonded corporate courier service. I printed out the entire 40-page packet of LLC incorporation documents, the stolen Wacom signature, the loan disbursement receipts, and a giant, time-stamped photograph of Liam asleep in my bed from 2 nights ago. I sealed the thick stack of paper in a bright red, tamper-proof envelope. I dispatched the courier with strict instructions to meet the DoorDash driver at the suburban address at exactly 11:15 a.m. While the raw fish and the digital firing squad were en route, I went to work on the loft's infrastructure. I am a network engineer. I built the smart home mesh network for this place entirely from scratch. Every single light bulb, thermostat, surround sound speaker, and security lock answered directly to my primary server rack in the closet. Liam absolutely loved showing it off to his tech bro friends when they came over for beers. I pulled up the central admin terminal. First, I went to the front door's biometric smart lock. I isolated Liam's fingerprint hash and his 6-digit passcode data. I didn't just delete his access. I permanently blacklisted his phone's MAC address from the local network entirely. He was physically and electronically locked out of the building. Next, I found his beloved Peloton sitting in the corner of the living room. He rode that stupid piece of carbon fiber every single morning, obsessing over his pathetic leaderboard stats. I remotely accessed the bike's motherboard, completely bypassed the standard user interface, and wiped his entire profile from the root directory. 3 years of grueling cycling data, personal records, heart rate metrics, and virtual badges, instantly vaporized into the digital void. Then came the absolute kill shot. The high-end, work laptop he had casually left sitting on the kitchen island. The machine I had personally helped him build with a top-of-the-line NVIDIA graphics card so he could handle heavy logistical rendering. I booted it up. He had left himself logged in as the admin. I opened his master file directory. There were no critical client escalations in there. There were no complex corporate logistics spreadsheets. The entire hard drive was filled to the brim with AutoCAD files, landscape schematics, and highly detailed 3D architectural renders of the suburban farmhouse. He had been spending hundreds of hours sitting right next to me on the couch, drinking wine that I bought, designing the perfect custom kitchen island for his actual wife. I didn't just drag the files to the recycling bin. I opened the command prompt and executed a low-level, military-grade hard drive wipe. It methodically overwrites every single sector of the disk with zeros. It takes hours to complete, and once the sequence initiates, you cannot abort it without destroying the motherboard. The laptop screen flickered violently, went pitch black, and then booted to a DOS prompt, slowly counting up the total destruction of his entire digital life. I systematically bricked the machine. It was now a $3,000 aluminum paperweight. I packed my clothes, my expensive monitors, my server backups, and my 2 cats into the back of my SUV. By 11 a.m., the loft was entirely empty of my presence, save for the ominous, high-pitched whirring of the dying laptop on the counter. I was driving 60 miles an hour down the interstate, the city skyline shrinking in my rearview mirror, when my phone violently vibrated in the cup holder. It was an unknown number sporting the area code of the suburban town. I tapped the green icon on the screen and routed the call through my car's Bluetooth audio speakers. "Hello?" I said, the road noise humming steadily beneath my voice. "Who the hell is the apartment girlfriend?" A woman's voice crackled furiously through the speakers. She sounded tight, frantic, and completely breathless. "And why do you have my husband's name plastered all over $50,000 of unsecured debt?" I calmly put my blinker on and merged into the right lane. "I'm Taylor," I said, keeping my tone dead flat and steady. "And I think you mean my boyfriend. We've lived together in a loft downtown for 2 years." The line went dead, suffocatingly silent. Only the static hum of the cellular connection and the distinct, high-pitched whining of a large dog in the background. 2 years, she finally choked out, her voice breaking violently into a guttural sob. "Liam and I have been together for 8 years. We got married last spring in Mexico. He told me he was traveling 4 days a week for his regional tech rollouts. For the next 3 hours, I sat parked in the back corner of a suburban Starbucks parking lot, drinking an iced Americano, aggressively exchanging screenshots with his wife. Her name was Sarah. She wasn't a villain. She was a victim who had been bleeding out without even knowing she was cut. She had absolutely no idea about the LLC. She legitimately thought Liam's massive new VP's salary had paid for the down payment on the modern farmhouse. She sent me gorgeous, professional photographs of them cutting a cake at the altar. I sent her high-definition ring camera footage of him kissing me goodbye in his khakis that very morning. We mathematically dissected his lies, cross-referencing his elaborate business trips to Chicago, with my visiting my parents' weekends. The man had run a flawless, sociopathic calendar manipulation operation, but his luck had violently run out. Sarah wasn't the type of woman to cry in a corner and ask for couples counseling. She was a trauma ER nurse who dealt with bloody car crashes and horrific injuries on a daily basis. A cheating, fraudster husband was just another massive arterial bleed to triage. At 1:30 p.m., Liam's GPS spoofing app must have glitched, or he finally realized his laptop battery was dead, because he headed straight back to the suburbs instead of the city loft. According to Sarah, he pulled his spotless Audi into the long concrete driveway, completely, blissfully oblivious to the massacre waiting for him. He confidently unlocked the front door, probably fully expecting the golden retrievers to tackle him with kisses, maybe secretly hoping there was some leftover premium omakase sushi in the fridge. Instead, he walked into the sunlit living room to find Sarah sitting absolutely still at the heavy oak dining table. Spread out perfectly in front of her was the ripped open red envelope, the 40 pages of printed, undeniable digital evidence, and the remnants of the sushi platter. Standing stoically next to her was a large man in a cheap gray suit holding a thick manila folder. It was a professional process server. Sarah had a family friend who worked in aggressive civil litigation on speed dial, and she had called in a massive favor. He actually tried to lie, Sarah texted me later that afternoon, her messages popping up rapidly on my locked screen as I unpacked my cats in my new apartment. He literally stood there and tried to say you were a crazy, obsessed stalker who hacked his banking accounts to frame him. He said he was going to call the FBI on you. Then I silently slid the DoorDash receipt across the table. Because I caught the incorporation fraud incredibly early, and because I had absolute, undeniable forensic proof of the digital forgery and the location spoofing, I was able to contact the central banks and the major credit bureaus immediately. I froze every single account, locked down my social security number with a permanent security pin, and filed an official, detailed police report for felony identity theft and wire fraud before the sun even set on Saturday. Liam's $50,000 house of cards spectacularly collapsed in less than 12 hours. The banks immediately flagged the LLC for severe fraudulent activity and recalled the personal loans. I moved into a luxury high-rise on the opposite side of the city. My cats absolutely love the floor-to-ceiling windows, and the building security is biometric. As for Liam, the incredible VP promotion he had celebrated with that greasy Thai food completely evaporated when he was publicly arrested by 2 uniformed officers at his corporate office on Tuesday morning. He is currently facing multiple heavy felony charges for aggravated identity theft and fiduciary fraud. His wife filed for a brutal, scorched earth divorce, legally taking the modern farmhouse, both of the golden retrievers, the black Weber grill, and any microscopic shred of dignity he had left. He is currently staring down the barrel of severe federal prison time, completely ruined, bankrupt, and alone. And it all happened because he couldn't be bothered to uncheck a single tiny box on a food delivery app. I sit out on my new concrete balcony, looking out over the glowing neon skyline, sipping expensive red wine bought securely with my uncompromised business credit card, and I genuinely have to wonder about the absolute sheer audacity of the man. Am I the monster here for completely and ruthlessly annihilating his entire life without offering a single warning, or did he get exactly the brutal digital execution he deserved?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.